First contact and underestimation. Admiral Carrick stood before the Nexarian High Council's holographic display, his iridescent scales shifting from deep purple to brilliant gold, a sign of barely contained excitement among his species. The massive chamber, carved from living crystal aboard the Nexarian Empire's capital ship, amplified every word as he delivered his report. Honorable Council, our deep space probes have discovered a peculiar civilization in Sector 847, on a planet they call Earth. These beings are most unusual. Carrick's auxiliary tentacles manipulated the controls, bringing up detailed scans of human civilization. The council members, each representing the most advanced species within the Nexarian Empire, leaned forward in their quantum-suspended chairs. First, Speaker Lyra, her energy form barely contained within her containment field, pulsed with curiosity. Elaborate, Admiral. These humans, as they call themselves, are carbon-based organisms that require constant chemical reactions to survive. They live on a planet with wild temperature fluctuations, deadly radiation from their star, and an atmosphere that would corrode most sentient species' neural pathways. Carrick paused, allowing his words to sink in. Yet somehow, they've achieved spaceflight. Laughter rippled through the chamber, causing the crystal walls to resonate in harmony. Second Speaker Vorax, a being of pure mathematical probability, fluctuated in amusement. Surely you jest, Admiral. How could such primitive biological entities achieve space travel? Through the most inefficient means imaginable, honored Speaker. They burn chemical fuel in metal containers. Their spacecraft lack even basic quantum shielding. Their communications still rely primarily on electromagnetic waves. Carrick's scales shifted to a deep blue of professional concern. But there's something peculiar about them. The holographic display shifted to show various human achievements. Their cities, their vehicles, their weapons. They're remarkably adaptable. In just 3 centuries, they've progressed from burning hydrocarbons for locomotion to rudimentary fusion power. Their technological progression is chaotic but exponential. First Speaker Lyra's energy form flickered thoughtfully. Do they pose any threat to the Empire? By conventional metrics, no, Carrick responded. Their weapons are primitive, their defenses negligible against our technology. However, he hesitated, his scales rippling with uncertainty. Speak freely, Admiral. Third Speaker Zenith encouraged, his crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. They exhibit patterns we've never seen before. While most species follow predictable technological paths, humans seem to take random leaps. They developed nuclear weapons before achieving reliable air travel. They created global information networks before solving their energy crisis. They're unpredictable. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. Unpredictability was something the Nexarian Empire had eliminated centuries ago through careful genetic and technological optimization. The very concept was almost offensive to their sensibilities. What do you recommend, Admiral? First Speaker Lyra asked, her energy form pulsing with increased intensity. Standard protocol would suggest immediate integration into the Empire. However, Carrick's scales shifted to deep crimson, a warning color. I recommend careful observation first. There's something about their neural architecture that our predictive matrices can't quite process. Second Speaker Vorax fluctuated dismissively. Absurd. They're clearly primitive beings who would benefit from our guidance. I move to proceed with standard integration protocols. Seconded, Third Speaker Zenith chimed in, his crystalline form resonating with confidence. First Speaker Lyra pulsed thoughtfully before speaking. Motion carried. Admiral Carrick, you will lead the integration fleet. Standard protocols apply. Demonstrate overwhelming force, accept their surrender, and begin the uplift process. Carrick's scales settled into a neutral gray, masking his unease. As the Council commands. However, I request permission to implement additional monitoring protocols. These humans have an unusual number of entertainment simulations involving resistance against technologically superior invaders. This triggered another wave of amusement through the chamber. Granted, Admiral, Lyra pulsed indulgently. Though I doubt such primitive fantasies will have any bearing on real combat situations. As Carrick's left the chamber, his scales flickered briefly to deep crimson again. The Empire had encountered thousands of species, integrated hundreds into their perfect society. Yet something about these humans nagged at his highly evolved instincts. Their art, their stories, their history, all spoke of a species that thrived on conflict and challenge rather than shrinking from it. In orbit above their homeworld, the integration fleet assembled, a standard force of 50,000 ships, more than enough to subjugate a pre-FTL civilization. As Carrick watched the fleet gather, he couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire's standard protocols might prove inadequate for the first time in its 10,000-year history. He had no way of knowing that deep below Earth's surface, in hardened bunkers and secret facilities, humanity was already preparing for their arrival. The same chaotic, unpredictable nature that made humans so difficult to analyze had also made them perpetually ready for both the best and worst possibilities. And in their long history of conflicts, humanity had learned one crucial lesson. Sometimes the greatest victories come from being underestimated. The silent preparation. Dr. Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her holographic presentation casting an eerie blue glow across the underground chamber beneath Geneva. The room, designed to withstand anything short of a direct antimatter strike, housed representatives from every major nation on Earth. Ladies and gentlemen, the Argus Deep Space Array has confirmed what we've suspected for the past 6 months, she began, bringing up a series of complex gravitational distortion maps. An alien fleet is gathering at the edge of our solar system. Based on their energy signatures, we're looking at approximately 50,000 vessels, each larger than anything humanity has ever constructed. General Marcus Rodriguez, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display, leaned forward. And you're certain they don't know we detected them? Sarah allowed herself a small smile. That's the beauty of our quantum entanglement detection system. It's completely passive. No signals for them to intercept. As far as they know, we're still using radio telescopes and conventional radar. Project Prometheus status. The question came from Director Wong of the Global Technology Integration Office, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Ready for deployment, Sarah replied, switching the display to show a massive underground facility. The antimatter production facilities in Antarctica have exceeded our expectations. We've manufactured enough to arm our entire defensive fleet. The chamber erupted in murmurs. Antimatter weapons had been theoretically possible for decades, but no one had expected their development to proceed so quickly. The alien threat had accomplished what centuries of human conflict couldn't: perfect global cooperation. Admiral Helena Petrov, commander of Earth's combined space forces, stood up. The Lazarus Protocol is also complete. Every major city on Earth now has a quantum-shielded underground arcology capable of housing its entire population. If these aliens think they can simply bombard us into submission, they're in for a surprise. And Project Hydra. The question came from President Chen of the Asian Confederation. General Rodriguez took that one. Our distributed defense network is fully operational. 10,000 small-scale production facilities scattered across Earth, each capable of manufacturing autonomous combat units. Even if they destroy 90% of our infrastructure, we'll still maintain significant manufacturing capability. What about the Chimera Initiative? This from Dr. Patel of the Biotechnology Division. Sarah's expression turned serious. The Neural Enhancement Program has exceeded our wildest expectations. The volunteers have demonstrated cognitive capabilities far beyond baseline human norms. More importantly, they've maintained psychological stability. We now have over 10,000 enhanced operators ready for deployment. And the ethical concerns. President Mbeki of the African Union raised an eyebrow. All volunteers were fully informed and retained their core personalities. Sarah assured him, "We didn't create super soldiers. We simply enhanced humanity's natural abilities. The neural networks we developed actually increased empathy while improving tactical thinking." Director Wong stood, her presence commanding attention. "The real question is, can we win?" Admiral Petrov answered, her voice firm. "In a conventional space battle, no. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours, but we're not planning to fight conventionally." She brought up a new hologram showing Earth's defensive strategy. "We've studied every first contact scenario, every alien invasion story humanity has ever conceived. Our ancestors might have been preparing us for this moment without even realizing it. Our strength," Sarah continued, "lies in our unpredictability. These aliens, based on their ship configurations and energy signatures, are highly advanced but also highly specialized. They've probably optimized themselves to the point of rigidity. We're betting they've lost the ability to think laterally, something humans excel at." Speaking of thinking laterally, General Rodriguez interjected, "Project Mirror." Sarah's eyes lit up. "Successful beyond our expectations. We've managed to replicate their quantum communication technology. Once they enter our system, we'll be able to listen to everything they say. They're surprisingly careless with their encryption, probably haven't needed to upgrade it in centuries." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had spent the last 6 months preparing not just technologically, but psychologically. Unlike the aliens, who had likely grown complacent in their superiority, humans had spent their entire history preparing for existential threats, real or imagined. "Time estimate." President Chen's question cut through the silence. "Based on their current positioning, they'll likely make their move within the next 72 hours. Sarah replied, "All defensive systems are in place. Civilian evacuation to the arcologies can begin at a moment's notice. Our orbital defense platforms appear inactive, but can power up in seconds." Admiral Petrov stood again, her voice carrying the weight of command. "I recommend we initiate Phase 1 of Operation Awakening. Begin civilian evacuation under the guise of a global emergency response drill. Position our fleet behind Mars' magnetic field where their sensors can't penetrate. And most importantly, maintain our appearance of technological inferiority." The vote was unanimous. As the council members filed out, Sarah remained behind, studying the holographic display of the approaching alien fleet. Humanity had spent its entire existence fighting, surviving, adapting. These aliens, with their rigid hierarchy and presumed superiority, had no idea what they were about to face. In facilities across the globe, enhanced operators began their final preparation cycles. Quantum computers spun up their combat simulation routines, and in secret bunkers worldwide, humanity's most advanced weapons were armed and readied. The aliens thought they were coming to subjugate a primitive species. Instead, they were about to learn why humans had spent centuries telling stories about resisting technologically superior invaders. Sometimes, the best defense isn't superior technology. It's the ability to think in ways your enemy can't even imagine. The failed invasion. High Admiral Carrix watched with mounting unease as his fleet entered the Sol system. Something felt wrong. The humans' primitive detection systems should have noticed them by now, yet their communications remained frustratingly mundane. Entertainment broadcasts, weather reports, and social media chatter. "Status report," he commanded, his scales shifting between uncertainty gray and warning crimson. "All ships in position." Admiral, his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex, reported. The humans appear to be conducting some sort of global civil defense exercise. Most of their population centers are evacuating into underground shelters. Evacuating. Carrix's scales rippled. How did they know to? A sudden alert interrupted him. Across his fleet, quantum sensors screamed warnings as hundreds of small objects accelerated from behind Mars' magnetic field. Primitive missile technology, Vex dismissed. Our shields can. The first wave of antimatter torpedoes detonated against the fleet's quantum shields. Space itself seemed to twist as matter and antimatter annihilated each other. 3 dozen Nexarian capital ships vanished instantly, their supposedly impenetrable defenses bypassed by weapons that shouldn't have been possible for centuries. Impossible. Vex's tentacles writhed in shock. They're pre-FTL. They can't have antimatter weapons. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Carrick's commanded. Launch fighters and prepare for. Another alert. This time, thousands of small craft emerged from Earth's atmosphere. Unlike the clumsy chemical rockets they'd expected, these vessels moved with impossible agility, powered by compact fusion drives. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're being hailed on our secure quantum channel." Carrick's scales went pure white with shock. How did they? The holographic display activated without waiting for his authorization. A human female appeared. Dr. Sarah Chen, though Carrick's didn't know her name yet. "Nexarian Fleet, this is Earth Defense Command. Your encryption was interesting, but a bit outdated. We recommend immediate withdrawal. This is your only warning." Before Carrick's could respond, his tactical officer screamed in panic. "Sir, the humans, they're inside our systems. Somehow they've quantum-linked with our ship's eye." Across the fleet, chaos erupted. Ships lost power as their quantum cores were forced into emergency shutdown. Defense systems targeted their own vessels. Communication networks dissolved into gibberish. "Launch the primary assault," Carrick's commanded desperately. "Begin planetary bombardment." The remaining ships launched their devastating payload, enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. But as the weapons approached Earth's atmosphere, they encountered something unprecedented. A planetary quantum shield, far more advanced than anything in the Nexarian arsenal. "Sir," Vex reported, his voice shaking, "the humans, they're not just defending, they're attacking." From Earth's surface, massive railguns began launching projectiles at relativistic speeds. Each impact carried the force of a nuclear blast, but without the messy radiation. Nexarian ships began dying by the hundreds. But the true horror came from the enhanced human operators. Using their neural interfaces, they sliced through the Nexarians' quantum networks like they were primitive code. Ships found their AI cores reprogrammed, their crews locked in their quarters, their weapons turned against their own fleet. "This is impossible," Carrick's whispered, his scales now cycling through colors in complete chaos. They were supposed to be primitive. Their technology, their tactics, none of this follows any known development pattern. "Sir," another officer called out, "we're detecting quantum signatures from their ground facilities. They're manufacturing ships and weapons in real time, adapting their designs based on combat data." This was humanity's true advantage, their distributed manufacturing network. While the Nexarians relied on massive centralized production facilities, humans had scattered their manufacturing capabilities across their planet. Every engagement provided combat data, and within minutes, new weapons were being produced specifically designed to exploit weaknesses in Nexarian technology. The battle lasted less than 6 hours. Of the 50,000 ships that entered the Sol system, fewer than 5,000 remained operational. The others were either destroyed or under human control, their crews confined by their own security systems. Carrick stood on his command deck, watching the approaching human vessels with a mixture of terror and awe. Their ships weren't uniform like Nexarian vessels. Each one was unique, adapted and evolved in real time during the battle. "Sir," his communication officer said quietly, "they're hailing us again." Dr. Chen's image appeared once more. "Admiral Carrick's, shall we discuss terms? We're particularly interested in learning more about your quantum technology. In exchange, we might share some insights about adaptive manufacturing and neural interface design." Carrick stared at the human woman, finally understanding what his instincts had been trying to tell them. The Nexarian Empire had spent millennia perfecting their technology, optimizing every system until it could not be improved further. But in doing so, they'd lost something crucial: the ability to think differently, to adapt, to imagine new possibilities. Humans, with their chaotic development, their seemingly random technological leaps, their constant preparation for imagined threats, had achieved something remarkable. They'd developed technologies and strategies that no logical species would have conceived, precisely because they weren't bound by logic alone. As Carrick's prepared to surrender his fleet, he realized that the galaxy was about to change dramatically. Humanity wasn't just going to join the galactic community, they were going to revolutionize it. Turning the tide. 6 months after the failed Nexarian invasion, Earth had become the center of a technological revolution that was reshaping galactic civilization. The newly established Turin Innovation Center, built within the hollowed-out interior of the Moon, hosted representatives from hundreds of alien species, including many former Nexarian subjects who had seized the opportunity for independence. Admiral Helena Petrov stood at the observation deck, watching as alien ships of various designs docked at the lunar facility. Beside her, Dr. Sarah Chen was explaining Earth's latest breakthrough to a group of fascinated xenotechnologists. The key wasn't just combining our technologies, Sarah explained, manipulating a holographic display showing a hybrid quantum neural interface. It was understanding why we developed them differently in the first place. Humans excel at lateral thinking, connecting seemingly unrelated concepts to create something new. A crystalline being pulsed with curiosity. But your development path was so inefficient. You created social media before solving clean energy, developed nuclear weapons before space travel. It defies all logical progression. Exactly, Sarah smiled. That inefficiency is our greatest strength. While other species focused on perfecting each technology before moving forward, we explored multiple paths simultaneously. Sometimes the most valuable innovations come from unexpected connections. In orbit above Earth, the first joint human-alien manufacturing facility was nearing completion. Unlike the rigid, centralized factories of the Nexarian Empire, this facility incorporated humanity's distributed manufacturing principles. It could adapt its production lines in real time, evolving designs based on immediate feedback. General Rodriguez, now heading the Combined Species Defense Initiative, was conducting a tour for military representatives from various worlds. The key to our defense wasn't superior technology, he explained, showing them the facility's adaptive manufacturing systems. It was our ability to change tactics and technology mid-battle. No offense, but most of your species spent so long optimizing your military doctrine that you forgot how to improvise. The alien officers watched in amazement as the facility demonstrated its capabilities, transforming raw materials into complex spacecraft in hours rather than months. Each vessel was unique, incorporating improvements based on real-world performance data. Meanwhile, in Geneva, the newly formed Galactic Cooperation Council was in session. Unlike the hierarchical structure of the Nexarian Empire, this new organization operated on human principles of democratic representation and technological sharing. Former High Admiral Carrick, now serving as the liaison between Earth and the former Nexarian worlds, addressed the council. His scales, once shifting between rigid military patterns, now displayed the more chaotic color combinations he'd learned from studying human emotion. What humanity has taught us goes beyond technology, he admitted. They've shown us that true advancement comes not from perfecting a single path, but from exploring many paths simultaneously. Their neural enhancement program didn't seek to eliminate emotional thinking in favor of logic. It enhanced both simultaneously. The council chamber buzzed with discussion as representatives from various species shared their experiences of working with humans. Many had initially been skeptical of Earth's seemingly chaotic approach to development, but the results were undeniable. In the 6 months since the invasion, human-inspired innovation had increased quantum computing efficiency by 300% by introducing controlled uncertainty into the calculations, created new hybrid materials by combining primitive chemical engineering with advanced quantum manipulation, developed adaptive AI systems that could evolve in real time without losing stability, revolutionized space travel by combining human fusion technology with alien quantum drives. But perhaps most importantly, humanity had introduced something that had been missing from galactic civilization for millennia: the spirit of exploration and innovation for its own sake. Dr. Chen's enhanced operators have become highly sought-after teachers, helping other species rediscover their capacity for lateral thinking. The Chimera Initiative, once seen as a desperate military program, was now producing specialists who could bridge the gap between different species' thought patterns. In a secure chamber beneath the council facility, Sarah met with a select group of alien scientists. "Today, we're ready to announce Project Genesis," she began, bringing up a hologram of what appeared to be an artificial solar system. "By combining our understanding of quantum mechanics with your species' various technological specialties, we believe we can create something unprecedented: manufacturable pocket universes for unlimited expansion and experimentation." The alien scientists stared in shock. Such a project would have been dismissed as impossible by their own species, but they'd learned not to underestimate humanity's ability to turn impossible ideas into reality. As the meeting concluded, Sarah received an urgent message from the Deep Space Monitoring Network. New signals had been detected from beyond the galaxy's edge, signs of another advanced civilization approaching. Under the old order, this might have been cause for alarm. But now, with humanity's influence spreading throughout the galaxy, it was seen as an opportunity for new connections, new ideas, and new possibilities. The galaxy was changing, becoming more dynamic, more innovative. And at the center of this transformation was the species that everyone had initially dismissed as primitive, the species that had turned their greatest weakness, their chaos and unpredictability, into their greatest strength. Rise of the New Order. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Assembly convened in its new headquarters, a massive space station orbiting Earth's L5 point. The station itself was a testament to humanity's influence. Its architecture constantly evolved. Its rooms could reconfigure themselves based on occupants' needs, and its quantum core pulsed with a hybrid of technologies from 100 different species. First speaker Dr. Sarah Chen, elected by unanimous vote from representatives of over 1,000 worlds, stood before the assembled delegates. The chamber itself was a marvel of human engineering, with neural interfaces allowing every species to communicate naturally, regardless of their biological or energy-based forms. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her words translating simultaneously into hundreds of languages and thought patterns. "Today marks the first anniversary of what history will remember not as an invasion, but as an awakening." The assembled delegates, a mix of biological, energy, and synthetic beings, responded with their various signs of agreement. Even the former Nexarian representatives, their scales now displaying previously impossible color combinations, had embraced the new order. "In 1 year," Sarah continued, "we've achieved what was thought impossible. Our combined research teams have unlocked the secrets of consciousness transfer, developed instant galaxy-wide transportation, and even begun experimenting with controlled temporal manipulation. But our greatest achievement isn't technological, it's philosophical." Holograms appeared throughout the chamber, showing scenes from across the galaxy. Worlds that had been locked in millennium-long stagnation were now hotbeds of innovation. Species that had optimized themselves into evolutionary dead ends were rediscovering their capacity for growth and change. Former Admiral Carrix, now leading the Galactic Innovation Council, took the floor. His scales shifted in patterns that would have been considered madness a year ago. Beautiful chaos that reflected his embrace of human-inspired creativity. Before humanity, he addressed the assembly. "We'd measured civilization by its level of optimization. We sought perfection through standardization. Humanity showed us that true perfection lies in endless adaptation and growth." The evidence was everywhere. The rigid hierarchies of the old galactic order had given way to fluid, adaptive organizations. The once uniform ships of various species now displayed stunning diversity, each incorporating unique innovations and improvements. Even the synthetic beings had evolved, their quantum processors now incorporating controlled randomness that allowed for genuine creativity. Admiral Petrov, commanding the new combined defense fleet, presented the military implications. The threats we once feared, extragalactic invaders, cosmic anomalies, even entropy itself, no longer seem insurmountable. Our adaptive technology and unified approach mean we face challenges not with fear, but with curiosity and determination. But perhaps the most profound change was visible in the younger generations of all species. They had embraced humanity's gift for questioning, for imagining, for pushing boundaries. Schools across the galaxy now taught human-style thinking alongside traditional knowledge. We stand at a turning point, Sarah concluded. The galaxy is no longer divided between advanced and primitive species. Instead, we recognize that every civilization, every species, every individual has unique perspectives to contribute. Our strength lies not in uniformity, but in our infinite diversity. As if to punctuate her words, the station's sensors detected a phenomenon at the galaxy's edge. A controlled quantum anomaly that early analysis suggested was a doorway to another universe. In the old days, such a discovery would have been met with fear and defensive preparations. Instead, the Assembly voted immediately to send a combined exploration fleet. The ships that departed, each unique, each incorporating technologies and crew from multiple species, represented everything humanity had taught the galaxy. They carried with them not just advanced technology, but a new philosophy, that the unknown wasn't something to fear or control, but to explore and understand. Back on Earth, in the quantum-shielded bunkers that had once been prepared for invasion, new wonders were being born. The same facilities that had manufactured weapons now produced tools for exploration and creation. The enhanced humans who had once been prepared for war now led joint research teams, their unique neural patterns helping bridge the gaps between different species' thought processes. As the exploration fleet disappeared into the quantum anomaly, Sarah shared a knowing look with Carix. Just 1 year ago, he had led a fleet to conquer Earth, believing humans to be primitive beings in need of guidance. Now he understood what his instincts had been trying to tell him. Sometimes the most advanced civilization isn't the one that has perfected its existing systems, but the one that never stops looking for new ways to grow and change. The galaxy had been transformed not by force or technological superiority, but by an idea that humans had carried with them since they first looked up at the stars. That the greatest adventure lies not in reaching perfection, but in the endless journey of discovery and growth. And somewhere, in distant reaches of space, new civilizations were about to discover that the galaxy they'd known for millennia had been wonderfully, irrevocably changed by a species that had turned chaos into creation, uncertainty into strength, and limitations into opportunities.